Hello, fellow baseball nuts, and a big warm welcome to the Jonny and Josh Baseball Show for 2024. Would you believe it? Reunited, and it feels so good. I've got my baseball brothers back with me for what is season number 5. Can you believe it? 5. I don't know what it is about 5 as a number that I particularly like, but maybe it's memories of a past history in baseball. But what a great pleasure it is to welcome the MVPs, the Grand Slams, the legends of Channel 5 baseball, my dear friend, the producer Erik, Big Davey Lengale, and the greatest pundit in the history of punditry, Mr. Josh Chetwynd. Boys, how are we?
Goldie.
You must be thinking of David Wright.
I wasn't thinking of David Wright, but we have very fond memories of David Wright, of course. New York Mets, who stink the place up. Dave, what's happening to the Mets? What is happening to the Mets? I saw a guy being interviewed online. I've never seen a fan on opening day of a baseball season so utterly destroyed, demoralized, dejected, and downright angry about what's happening in New York.
Good enough to lose. They're gonna lose a lot of 3-1 games, a lot of 7-6 games this year. That's what's gonna happen. It's all about 2025. That's when the money comes back.
I think they're already mathematically eliminated.
So, boys, you're keeping up to date with what's been happening? I mean, it's all very exciting for us fantasy baseball legends like myself. By the way, I had the worst season in the history of my fantasy baseball career last year. But I'm already all over the results. I'm getting excited. I'm getting panned in every league I'm in.
The earliest waffle showing. You're waffling again.
Exactly.
Well,
we already got the waffle out. Stop waffling.
The clock's gone ahead.
People have been waiting a long time for this podcast. They don't want to hear about your fantasy exploits.
That's
they want
exactly
to know what we think
what I
about
want to hear.
stuff.
Exactly.
Look, mate, the fact is, the listeners of this podcast are also the listeners of Radio Bath, okay? Every Tuesday. I reference which baseball players have a birthday, which baseball players died on this day, which baseball players are in my fantasy team. This is what is keeping alive the UK interest in this great sport.
So the listenership on radio, the listenership on Radio Bath is the same as our podcast. So it's
very similar.
2 to 3, depending.
Yes.
Radio North Bath.
It's not. Where have you got this North Bath? It's Bath.
I thought it was
not
South
Bath.
Bath.
It's
North Bath.
Bath. It's the whole of Bath and a little bit of
the early bell. Okay, let's go.
Okay.
Moving along.
COVID update. Do we still do that? We've done it for the last 3 years. No, okay. Possibly not an issue anymore. I don't know if I've got an old script in voice.
Exactly.
You know, it's like that's nostalgia already.
Where's Aubrey Huff when you need him?
Look, let's be brutally honest with everybody out there that is listening, and our thanks to all those that aren't. I know there's a fair few, to Ed and Rolf and all the chaps. Guys, we're doing this, one, because it's just a great opportunity for us to connect to our baseball brothers across the pond, Big Dave and JC, obviously. We don't see a lot of them, if we're brutally honest. It's a perfect relationship. But we do this so that we could see them electrically, if not physically. So obviously, if you still enjoy the show and you do want us to continue, even though you're now in your single figures, then we ask you to big us up on social media. You know the story down the bottom. There's something about subscribe, enjoy, like, all that bollocks. Just get involved, check it out, and obviously we've also got a YouTube channel. Do we still have a YouTube?
Yeah, it still exists.
Okay, right.
We got rid of the MySpace account though. So
what is a MySpace?
What about
account?
Friendster? Are we still on Friendster?
Friends for United. Yeah, exactly.
I think we're on a CompuServe chat board.
Ooh,
I think
nice.
you can also download our podcast on Napster. I'm not sure, but yes.
Dave's still on Grindr, so I think there is still a
get in.
It's a family show. Come on, let's go. Moving on.
Okay, moving on. You got some trivia for us, Erik?
Sure.
Erik, you sound so beleaguered today. What is going on?
Tired.
You can't be this jaded and defeated before the first episode.
You sound like a Mets fan.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to ask you as the opening week trivia question. Okay. Which of these 4 teams actually have the best win percentage on opening day? So I'm not asking for the most wins, best win percentage on opening day. Is it A, the Braves? Is it B, the Red Sox? Is it C, the Mets?
Clearly
or
not.
Or is it D, the Tigers?
Well, it's so abundantly clear it's the Tigers because that's your team and you wanted to show off. So why do we even bother with this section? Why don't we just
answer
move ahead,
later on in the show?
Ding ding! It's time to kick off the first inning. Our leading batter, first batter up, is of course the news roundup. What's been dominating the news 4 days into the season? Well, I could tell you one thing. Do we have a nice little musical link here, by the way?
Yes. Pause.
Oh, should I just take a pause? Okay, here's a pause for technical influx. First up, it's got to be the big story, guys. It's the whole Ohtani. Greatest baseball player for the last couple of seasons, MVP, superstar, Japanese equivalent of Babe Ruth. He could do it all. He could pitch, he can hit. Now, JC, his mate, Ippei Mitsuhara, is at the center of this story. This is not just his interpreter. This is his best friend. Until, I think it was yesterday, he's never played a game of baseball, whether it's been in Japan or USA, without his best mate at his side. And he's come out and made a statement that he, Ohtani, has done nothing wrong, that ultimately it's all about his Met betting, which of course we know is not allowed. And he stands by that statement. I've done nothing wrong. I have not broken the rules, and I've got nothing to be ashamed of. Does that put this story to bed, or is this story going to still run and run?
Oh my God, this is going to run and run, Gouldy. I mean, it should run and run, is quite honest. I mean, first off, this was a crisis of crisis communications that I've ever seen in my life, in that Ippo was put on ESPN to do an interview. He says that it was his fault, but that the Ohtani team paid off his debt, which is illegal because in California, you can't do any of this sort of betting. Then they had to walk that back to say, oh, he did this all without any knowledge. It's clear.
Because the lawyer came in.
Right.
And what you said, what to who?
Exactly. So more people than you want are going to jail as a result of that statement, including potentially Ohtani. So this is a cluster of the highest order. And Major League Baseball is trying to slow walk it, which is a reflection of Ohtani's importance to the sport. I mean, his endorsements are like, they dwarf any other player. He is the face of baseball. You put him there, and then all of a sudden he's facing this. This story will not go away, and it's going to end really ugly, in my opinion.
Okay, well, when you say that, what are we saying? A suspension? Being thrown out of the league? You can't do that to the number one player in baseball.
I think it's beyond Major League Baseball, right? I mean, there may be legal repercussions. So, okay. I mean, and when that happens, there's no getting around it for Major League Baseball. I think Major League Baseball, Rob Manfred, going to try and put this under the rug. But if legal implications come into play, he's not going to be able to do that.
Dave,
let me ask you a question, Johnny. Before you go, I want to ask. We got 4 of us. Without any explanation, here's what I want you to do: guilty or innocent? Erik, guilty or innocent?
Guilty.
Josh.
I don't think he was guilty of the gambling. No, because they're 2 different things. You're asking a binary question on an essay.
Why not?
Because. Well, no, because my point is they're 2 different issues, right? Was he guilty of doing something illegal? I think yes. Was he guilty of doing the gambling himself? I don't think so. So I think that he was trying to help his buddy.
All right, you didn't answer the question. That's fine. Johnny?
Innocent.
Innocent.
100%. He didn't gamble.
If the glove does not fit, you must acquit.
Someone going to ask me now? Someone can ask me.
Yes, Dave. Guilty or innocent?
He's guilty. And I'll tell you why. Well, first of all, unless Ohtani made this guy his financial advisor, right? Hey, Ippei, I want you to get into my bank and pay the cable bill, right? Which didn't happen. If he is guilty of such a massive theft, right? There have to be more people involved in this. There's no way this guy Ippei is, unless he was given access to his bank account. That means, by the way, that Ohtani did know something, because he would have said, I gave him access to my bank account, right? Because he had a clear denial of everything the other day. He denied any knowledge of any of it. So Ohtani is either a liar, or there's more people involved than just a translator, because it can't be done on his own. It's too big.
Okay. I think one of the issues here is that he's also being handled so much. And we saw this with the ESPN interview. People are telling him what to do. And so I think that's creating problems, because I think he's getting terrible advice. Unless, of course, he's just completely guilty and he just doesn't, he's going to lie all the way to the end.
And Manfred is a joke, right? He's a total joke. I mean, he hasn't. I mean, he's done the if this was A-Rod, right? They had people hiding in bowls of his rice at Chinese restaurants. MLB. They had investigators everywhere. How much did they spend? Millions of dollars trying to take down A-Rod? And this, they can barely, they say the bare minimum for Ohtani.
Well, I mean, look at John Dowd, right? And the Pete Rose. John Dowd, the day after he was hired by Bart Giamatti, he was in Cincinnati interviewing people and doing a job. Now, they did it kind of quietly on the front end. So, give MLB, and I'm equally as cynical as you are, David, but give them at least a little bit of the benefit of the doubt that maybe they're onto something. And yeah, I know. I'm just as cynical, but you got to just give it a little bit of time. But the bottom line is this is going to be the biggest story in baseball for a while. It'll quiet down for a little bit, but ultimately this is going to have huge repercussions, especially because baseball has locked arm in arm with the gambling community. And, Manfred said, well, it's different, it's different because we're just making money off of it. Well, people can impact the game, and it's not different. And, baseball's history of gambling is so spotted from the 1919 Black Sox to Pete Rose that they should be nowhere near gambling, and that's one of my big pet peeves with the sport right now.
And journalists are going to get to work and find out if
Yeah.
whatever Manfred and them don't give us, people are going to work on this.
Guys, I 100% agree that they've only got themselves to blame, MLB, because 100% they've set out their stall in one respect and then they completely hypocritically sort of conflict it in another respect. The question I have to ask you guys is just from a legal perspective, and I'm probably just being dumb here, and you all know that I'm quite regularly accused of this. But I don't understand is if his mate has done this and run up huge debts, which we know you can do even when you haven't got the funds, that happens. And then he goes to his mate, who happens to be the baseball player, and say, I'm in big trouble and I need all this money to pay off my debts. And your friend comes to your assistance because he's worth hundreds and hundreds of millions. I don't understand how that is a crime.
You have to understand
to lend his money.
If this were in other states, that may be an argument. In California, it is illegal to gamble. So the bookmaker that they were using is an illegal entity. It's not legal gambling. So if you wire money knowingly to a illegal enterprise, you can be found guilty of a number of crimes, wire fraud, things like that.
I didn't realize
here's a very important point, Johnny.
Yeah.
If you know anything about illegal bookies, they work on credit. Okay.
Yeah.
They are not giving this guy that kind of credit unless somebody can cover those bills. Yeah. Period. It's just not going to happen. Who's going to take that bet?
Okay.
Right. It makes no sense.
Yeah. I mean, the big question all comes down to, is this really Ohtani who was doing the betting? I think that, he's done something illegal, but it's going to be a whole next level if he were gambling on sports. And as we saw with Pete Rose, if you're a gambler and you have that addiction, odds are you're probably gambling on baseball too.
Yeah.
I have to add one more thing, Johnny. This is important.
No, go on.
Okay. Because we're talking about the interpreter who had unprecedented access to injury reports, to players, to managers, to general managers. I mean, the guy is in every important space you can possibly imagine inside a Major League Baseball organization, that bookies would die for this information. Is there a possibility that he was trying to pay off his debts, perhaps not with gambling, but with supplying inside information to gamblers so that they can make bets? I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah.
A lot of allegations. It's scary. I mean, it's a real Pandora's box here. I mean, I hope that the least terrible outcome occurs here, which is still going to suck for Ipe, which is that he did this and he was a lone wolf. But I'm not convinced yet, even close.
Story that's going to run and run, boys. I think we're going to be covering this throughout the season. Let's move it forward because that really has depressed me as an opener on the show. I'm excited to have baseball back. Let's move to another fiasco, the uniforms fiasco. I mean, I'm loving this. I'm loving the sight of New York Yankees players dripping in sweat with great big ugly sweat marks under their armpits. What on earth? I mean, does no one do their due diligence on this stuff?
Well, supposedly this was like the best fiber ever. It was like fabric from heaven. And I mean, not only does it look bad, but it plays bad. And you go back to thinking, Major League Baseball has such a great history of uniforms, right? The flannels in, the pre-war era where people were literally wearing heavy flannel uniforms. Talk about sweating your butt off. They had like little special underarm, like kind of like mesh, but and now we got to a point where the uniforms worked, and it's absurd. I mean, I think this is a very legitimate gripe that fans and players alike have.
Yeah, this is classic over engineering, right? This is classic human over engineering. Nobody asked for this. We don't need it. The players didn't say, "Hey, get us a new lightweight fabric," and it's a good example of why baseball is different than some other sports. We've seen some nasty, gross uniforms in the NFL, and we've seen some really bad stuff in the NBA. But in baseball, where uniforms really matter to people, I think probably more than the other sports. Hockey with the possible exception. To tinker with stuff. I was watching the Mets game yesterday. I couldn't even read Ottavino's name on the back of his jersey. It was so small. I was like, who is that guy?
It's not just over engineering, Dave. It's bad marketing. I think they thought this is like, we're gonna revolutionize something, get a lot of press for that, and they just swung and missed in like Casey at the bat epic fashion.
One thing I'll say about the Yankees, though, and I don't like to say anything about the Yankees. Yankees went back to their classic road uniforms. They got rid of the white outline, and everybody looks like Mickey Mantle now. That's one good thing. I hate to say it, but the Yankees nailed their new old away uniforms.
Because you guys, that we've had a similar situation over here for the England football team. Have got this new trendy retro, and they've changed the flag of St. George, who of course the patron saint of England.
How can you do that?
Yeah, and they stuck it predominantly with blue, and as we know, the flag is white and red. That's it. I mean, the outcry has been enormous here. English football fans saying there's no way they're going to buy the shirt. Now, I'm sorry, but that is a disastrous marketing decision, because at the end of the day, you make these shirts because you want people to buy the damn things, and they're charging 120 quid.
I hate to tell you, what this all comes down to, right, is greed, right? Because each time you create a new uniform, it's a new thing to sell, and it's a new way to sort of goose your bottom line. And it's just, I mean, I think the theme for the show is cynicism, right? Like, you look at these actions and it's just like, what the F, right?
It is laughable. The uniforms are some of them are pretty damn ugly as well, and they look like black market, like that you find like in a knockoff store and somewhere in the Middle East or something. And
they're made by small children, right?
Exactly.
Somewhere in Asia.
Right. It's like when you see Yankees jerseys with the names on the back, and you're like at Yankee Stadium, and you're like, where did you get that? I mean, the Yankees do not have names on the back. It's totally ghetto. But now the whole league has like ghetto uniforms like that.
Except for the Royals, right? The Royals were the one team who said, we're not going to use the small print, and they got a disclaimer in order to be able to have the normal names on the back. So
good
credit to KC.
Yeah. Thumbs up to KC, 100%. Okay, moving on.
One win this year.
That's don't say that. I've got a few Royal players in my lineup. Okay, let's move it on. Let's talk about London series. We're all excited that obviously baseball's coming back to the UK. JC, just to confirm for all our listeners, you are going to be the main man in the hot seat?
Yeah, I'll be doing the broadcast for TNT again.
Awesome.
Formerly BT Sport, but now TNT. So looking forward to it. Wish I were with you all, but I think it'll be the same team, although I don't know.
I'm looking forward to my guest appearance, right? My guest appearance.
Hey, if you show up, Dave, I will do my damnedest to get you on.
Oh, really? Okay, let's see.
Dave, let me point out, I've been in that stadium every year it's been happening, and JC's never extended the same invite. So
unbelievable.
Because you show up in like the 6th inning and you're glad handing like everybody. Like, it's Jonny.
I'm ready for my close-up now.
Exactly.
Mate, I'm there 3 hours early. I set up a stand with a big sign saying, come and say hello.
He demands his own tent. He gets like an amenities tent.
He wears a t-shirt that says, remember me, ?
Oh, unfortunately, that's
Assistant
so true.
To Mr. Gould.
Hey, the only one who walks around the whole stadium prior to the game, during the game, and after the game is a certain Mr. Erik, the producer, who spends his whole time swanning it amongst the loving hordes that remember the producer man.
Eric's working for no one, but I see him at the cafeteria every time. It's like a special. Everyone working. Somehow he works his way into the cafeteria with 3 desserts.
And rating every one of them, by the way.
Well, I'm already feeling like I'm going to boycott this damn game, because I'm sorry, if you're going to have a National League East matchup, you cannot not have the Braves, and we got the Mets and the Phillies. Who wants to see the Mets? The Phillies v the Braves, yeah, I totally understand that. But Dave, even you, surely you're not that excited about seeing the Mets play.
Very excited about seeing the Mets. I don't know why you would say that.
Well,
We
so
have
much
lots
so
of
that you're not gonna
stars. There's
turn
a
up?
lot, there's a lot to hang your hat on.
It's the two most angry fan bases. That's why you're matching
Exactly.
them up.
You'll see
That
Larry.
is true.
Who knows?
That is
Think of
true.
the celebrities who might show up. Larry David, Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock. It's like that's that's about it.
Larry David's a Yankee fan, I think.
Well, no, he shows up in Jerry Seinfeld's box every now and then. So.
Guys, I have to say, I mean, I do think the London series has been a great success, and hats off to MLB for getting something vaguely right. But what was your reaction to this opening series in Korea, first of all, between the Padres and the Dodgers? The reaction seems to be pretty negative on a major front. And secondly, they're already talking about the MLB series in Paris in 2025. That's just been cancelled. So clearly they can't make it work there. That's logistical issues, financial issues. They're also pushing for an international exposure in Korea. JC, what's your thoughts about what MLB is doing elsewhere outside of the UK?
Well,
series?
first, keep in mind that whatever the US press is saying about these events really isn't relevant. The purpose of these events are to create grassroots in the location. So as long as you're building there, that's fine. The Paris event being canceled is troubling to me, that they couldn't find anyone to serve as a promoter, that they really feel that it's going to be such a loss of money, because I feel like they need to move into the continent, right? England, the UK, it's one thing, but you need to start moving into the continent in order to create that sort of depth of interest. Beyond, obviously, there are pockets of baseball, as we all know, in France and elsewhere. So that one really concerns me, that they felt they couldn't make that work.
Why didn't they go to Holland?
Exactly.
What are they waiting for? When is that happening?
Stadium issue. There isn't a proper stadium in Holland.
Really?
What's the highest they have seating in the Holland right now?
I mean, the Hoofddorp Stadium, you could probably jerry rig to make pretty good. And that's, right outside of Amsterdam and near the airport. And I know that I've been there before. The clubhouse is major league quality. They have a lot of the elements there. So I don't buy that so much.
For the Hoofddorp Stadium in Haarlem next to Amsterdam, you wouldn't be able to get 40,000, 50,000 there. With extended,
you don't need 40 or 50. Get 30. Just get it in there and get going. Like everything doesn't have to be 40 or 50.
I agree.
I mean,
the
park they're going to build in Vegas is 33.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I feel like Holland is such a perfect place for this. You get it onto the continent and you're just going to get, I mean, you had a lot of people, I knew people from Sweden, from Germany who came out to the UK. If you then put it even closer to these other countries, you're going to get tremendous, it's great for the sport on the continent. I agree with that.
Great rail links.
Yeah,
people can come from everywhere.
That's why I didn't understand the whole Paris thing, because I'm not an expert on European baseball like you guys, but France has never struck me as being a European giant in terms of baseball. Go to the centers where there is real, confirmed, rooted interest.
Well, there's definitely, Montpellier, Rouen. There's a lot of solid baseball in France. I don't want to diminish that.
Okay.
But Holland has, along with Italy, sort of the most prestigious and richest history. Yeah. I just wonder whether it's just the ignorance of Major League Baseball, where they think, oh, London, Paris, those make sense. They're big cities. They're metropolitan areas. We don't really get, suburban Amsterdam in the same way.
Yeah. Which makes me laugh because, of course, our favorite baseball experience ever was when we went when we went to the minor league game all those years ago.
One thing I don't understand about the criticism of Korea, just to get back to that road, people were really hard on it. They were giving Manfred a hard time. This is ruining baseball, opening day a week in advance. What I really don't understand is that this has been going on for some time. They opened games on several occasions in Japan. I don't know why anybody really.
They went to Melbourne.
Yeah, Australia. What was it? LA and Arizona.
But was it that far in advance?
Nobody cares. No one cares. Just go out. It's not a big
Dave,
deal.
I disagree. Amongst my fancy league of the behind home plate rookies, they all agreed. They hated the fact that the season opened for 2 days and then we had almost 2 weeks before it actually opened.
Oh my God, take a chill.
So cranky.
Seriously, it's the most cynical world we live in now.
Cares?
I swear to God.
How does it affect their lives? Are they okay? Do they need anything?
I think they care because their fantasy league starts early and they're like, oh, I've got to do a draft early for 2 games.
Guys, you don't play fantasy baseball if you don't absolutely love the game of baseball. So when something starts and then suddenly it doesn't start and you're sitting there, you're all excited, your blood is boiling, you're like, yes, baseball's back. And then for 2 weeks it isn't back again. It is annoying. It is annoying.
Nobody in the States watched those Korean games. They were a bad time. Nobody watched them.
Yeah,
except maybe Dodgers fans and Padres fans.
The purpose for that was to help baseball in Korea, just as the games here in the UK are to help baseball here. It's worth it for that upside.
Absolutely. Any day of the week, I would do that again.
Yeah.
And just to wrap up this little segment about international baseball, one thing that MLB is doing right is their MLB develops department, the game development section of their, where they have the edge camps across Europe, and which I was honored enough to have gone to Lithuania.
What are the edge camps?
I got to say before you explain, Eric's upping his overlords right now. He's like going to give a big sell.
What I'm saying is I got to give
with you too.
I got to give this program its dues. Going to Lithuania,
part of your contract.
Going to Lithuania, Toulouse, Barcelona, and then trying to get encapsulate as many people as possible. I'm going to go to Slovakia and Germany in a few weeks as well, where we look at the top 12-year-olds to 18-year-olds that could be selected to go into Major League Baseball. And
the next Max Keplers?
Exactly. Next Didi Gregorius, next Dovidas Neverauskas. There is talent in Europe to tap in, and
for the Pirates,
that's what we're going to totally tap in, and I'm proud to be part of that. So yes.
So basically, baseball's equivalent of Louis Zamet, the Welsh lad who's just gone over and joined the NFL.
I heard about that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's been signed by the Chiefs.
I mean, this is something that's been going on for a while, though. They weren't called the edge camps previously. Exactly. We've had the effort for development. But we are seeing, I think the difference we're seeing in terms of this, and I know we're going kind of off route a little bit here, is that we're seeing more and more European players, African players, Ugandans play college baseball in the US. This was, when I was representing players, this was a very hard thing to do. If they weren't going to sign with major league teams, that there really wasn't another gateway to help in terms of development. And what we're seeing now are more Division I teams. We've had JUCOs for many years, junior colleges for many years doing this, but signing European players and embracing that. And that's going to really goose development, even more than these edge camps, because those kids are kind of young. When you get kids in the 18 to 21 range who are good, you can take them to the next level. And that's going to make a big difference, in my opinion.
There you go.
Guys, before we close out this link, can I just ask about your thoughts on the A's? Because we're not going to talk Oakland A's pretty much for the rest of the season. Their opening crowd on opening day, 13,522, half what it was last year. Thousands in the car park, basically saying, John Fisher's obviously as hated as Mike Ashley was in Newcastle, and with good reason. And from what I understand, with this move to Vegas, there could be another 3 seasons in Oakland before that stadium's even ready. So this scenario, this nightmare for Oakland A fans could continue for another 3 seasons.
I'm going to take this one. So listen, number one, there was 13,000 on opening day, but there were probably more than that in the parking lot. They were protesting. Number two, John Fisher is a complete disaster. He's one of the worst owners in the history of Major League Baseball. He has botched this thing over and over again. There are people inside Las Vegas, a teachers organization, which are trying to get it on the stadium on the ballot. Nobody in Vegas, they don't want this thing. They don't want John Fisher going. If they're going to get something, they want an expansion team, which has worked very well for the Knights. They're turning down the redevelopment of the Coliseum area or the Howard Terminal, which was on its way to happening. Even though it's been a tough road, it could have happened for 9 acres in Las Vegas, and a stadium with no retractable roof that holds 33,000. They're moving from the 6th largest market to the 40th largest market. And if I was the union, I would be very upset about the way this has all gone. This MLB and Fisher, they could not have handled this even worse. I can't believe the owners allowed this to happen.
Josh?
100% agree. I mean, David is preaching the gospel on this. It's disgusting. It's wrong for the fan base. It's wrong for baseball. It's an opportunity to redevelop a part of the U.S. that could use a little redevelopment. I hate gentrification is a very sort of questionable word, but in terms of like offering sort of an economic boost to Oakland, it's fantastic. And it is one of the most loyal fan bases in baseball. It's heartbreaking on the level of the Brooklyn Dodgers moving west for these fans. And I realize they haven't been around quite as long in that location, but they have such a rich history in Oakland. It's and it's purely for money. It's just money, greed, which is the theme. Cynicism and greed, theme of the show.
Do you know that this guy gutted the team purposely so that people wouldn't come, so that they could say, look, nobody's coming. And the team was so bad 2 years ago, and then they raised season ticket prices to crazy levels so that even more people, I know people, I have a good friend of mine who has been going to A's games forever. And she's telling me all these stories about how they raised ticket prices and the product on the field is even worse. This is all sabotage. The whole thing has been sabotaged from day one.
As an Expo fan, a former Expo fan, my heart goes out.
Sounds familiar.
Oh, exactly. So, on that note, we move on.
Okay, boys, let's pick out some of the changes that have been made with regards to the rules. I think the big one and possibly the most controversial, JC, is this whole issue of obstruction and blocking the lanes from first to second. MLB seem to be seeking some clarification. This is ultimately down to the umpires. What's your reaction to this?
Yeah, first of all, it's not a new rule. It's a rule that's been on the books, but they're trying to highlight this and give more discretion to umpires. It's not just second base, it's any of the bases, that if you're impeding the runner in a certain way in front of the base, that the runner can be called safe. And my issue with this, I have big concerns about this because you're leaving it to the discretion of the umpire, and that leaves a lot of wiggle room on a play that can be very decisive. You know, there could be a play at home plate where at least catchers now have sort of moved off the plate quite a bit because of the injury issues and the other rules surrounding that. But double plays at second base, there are a lot of ways in which the game can really be affected by an overzealous ump. So I like the way the rules were. I think let people play a little bit more, but all of a sudden this could really play into a lot of decisions in games.
Okay, so it ain't broke, so don't fix it. There are some other issues. They've realigned the sort of grass and gravel from home plate to first plate to make it clear. If you're on the grass, it's foul, it's out. If you're not, you're in. I mean, this is a simplification, isn't it?
Well,
so that's a good move.
I like this rule better because one of the things that was sort of weird is that if you were at all inside the foul line running down first base, you weren't allowed to do that. And so this gives the runner a little bit more leeway in terms of running down the line to first base, which I think is a little fair and makes just a little more sense to me.
One other additional rule change, or actually not so much a rule change as a rule tweaking per se, is the pitch clock going from 20 seconds to 18 seconds when runners on base. It still speeds up the game. Mustn't grumble.
Good.
Moving on.
Okay, last up in the news roundup, it's the Badoo Watch. Why on earth are we still doing a view to a kill? Is he even in the majors anymore? I don't think he is he?
Okay,
I have no idea.
For those of you who are new to this podcast, we were looking at this Detroit phenom a few seasons ago who was amazing on opening day, opening week. He hit a grand slam his first at bat. And Akil Baddoo, we thought was going to be the most amazing thing. So we did a Baddoo watch and called it A View to Akil. See what we did there? Yes. Now, the thing about Akil Baddoo, A View to Akil, it's more now much Baddoo about nothing, because he's been sent down to the minors again, AAA, Toledo Mud Hens. When you have a spring training that's with 13 strikeouts and 3 for 25, it's time to go back to the minors again. So I think, I've said this before, but I think this is the end of Baddoo Watch and A View to a Kill.
Well, can I suggest it's the end of this whole segment? Because obviously the reason we came up with this was because the success of Weaver Watch when we were broadcasting Channel 5 baseball. And we all know what that did to his career. I mean, that completely bombed his career. We are a jinx, guys. We are a jinx.
I will tell you, we did Granderson, and his career didn't sort of fall off the edge.
Oh, that's true.
We should be doing this guy, Jared Jones.
Yeah.
Who saw Jared Jones pitch for the Pirates with that amazing chest hair and his this waft? Like, this guy is hot. And he struck out like, he looks just like a pirate, by the way. He looks like he could be sliding down a sail.
Have
And
you
he
got a
struck
poster
out
of him
10 in his debut. Jared Jones, look out for this guy.
Now we know what kind of men you like. Now, moving on to the next segment.
Okay, second batter up. It's our prediction time. An opportunity for you, our listeners, our loyal listeners, to tell us how little we know about baseball when you fast forward 6 months and realize that we have totally and utterly embarrassed ourselves. So, boys, we're going to start in the American League East. JC, you obviously have your team in the American League East. You can kick things off. Where are you going, big guy?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to pick the Orioles right now. They just have such a great team. Corbin Burns, bringing him in as a ace pitcher, definitely adds to that rotation. If Bradish comes back, that'll be particularly good. But offensively, just a fantastic team now, right? I mean, Gunnar Henderson, Ashley Rushman. I mean, if they bring up Jackson Holiday, who had a great
when they bring up Holiday,
when they bring him up, exactly. I mean, this is a team that really seems poised to have their massive breakthrough this year.
Buddy, I'm 100% with you. I think they're going all the way. I anticipate the Orioles winning the American League pennant, and I expect to see them in the World Series. So I'm totally in agreement. Orioles for me. Davey?
When was the last time the Orioles had a bona fide ace? I guess it was Messina, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Jim
been a long time.
Mike Cuellar?
Yeah, it's been a long time. So I feel really good for the fan base. They have a new owner in there now. Maybe he'll sign some of these kids up to some good deals, and he'll bring somebody in at the deadline that they need. It's boon time for Oriole fans.
Yeah, we didn't mention that Peter Angelos just passed away. So not one of the favored owners, sort of one of those kind of cheap owners, but he did bring Camden Yards, which is, was sort of like one of the jewels.
He started out great.
Age. Yeah.
He started out great. They had some of the highest payrolls, if not the highest payroll in the late 1990s. And then something happened where I guess he spent big in the beginning and he looked at his books and said, no, this doesn't work. And that was it, for 25 years.
For what it's worth, I pick Baltimore as well for the AL East. Best ballpark, best ballpark food. Moving on.
Well, that's a jinx for the Orioles if we're 4 for 4. Anyway, moving on to the Central of the American League, which for my money is pretty much the weakest league in Major League Baseball. Boys, I'm going with the Twins on this one. And the reason being is that I'm loving their 1-2 punch. I think Pablo Lopez, Joe Ryan going to be doing some big things this season. Got a couple of them in a number of my fantasy baseball teams, expecting big things. Twins for me in the Central.
I'm going to actually throw a bone to Erik. I actually think the Tigers have a real legitimate chance of winning this division, partially because of what you said, Gouldy. It's a pretty weak division and it's quite open. But I like Tarek Skubal a ton. He's their ace. He is honestly going to be a Cy Young contender. You really see him improve year over year. And then Spencer Torkelson, who's been sort of that 1-1 first overall pick guy who's been a disappointment. I think he may come good. I think this team, if Javi Baez shows even a quarter of what he was years ago.
Or an eighth. How about an eighth?
I'll take an eighth. I think that this is a team that could actually surprise.
David?
Okay, Dave?
No. For the Tigers, I hopefully down the road though, I think they're on the right path. I think their over/under number was like 73 or something. I don't see it.
Central.
The Twins are good. There's just nobody there. The Cleveland are 3-0, but look, they played the A's. So no, Twins.
Yeah. Okay, well, Twins. I'm gonna go with Cleveland for the AL Central because it's the new era after Terry Francona, and and they got enough lineup in their lineup. I think they just narrowly missed out last season. I think they have what it takes to win that division.
All right.
Okay, moving on. AL West. I'll kick things off again. I'm going with Seattle. I'm a big Mariners fan. I love the city. Julio Rodriguez, what's not to love? I think he's going to be their MVP. I look at their 1-2 punch. I'm loving Logan Gilbert. I think George Kirby. Two great pitchers. We all know that Luis Castillo's second half is usually Cy Young award. If it wasn't for his first half of the season, he would be a contender. So yeah, there's plenty to like about the Mariners. I'm going with the Mariners, boys. JC, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think Mariners are the sexy pick, but I'm going to go with Houston. I just feel like they know how to, they're built to win over and over again. They still have their core, still have the Altuves and the Bregmans. They still have the pitching, which continues to just get better. They went on, got Josh Hader, which just gives you even more of a bullpen strength. So I think the Astros are gonna be there again.
Okay, so JC's gone with an 0-3 team after 3 games. What about you, Dave?
How about this? 3 different opinions. I'm going with Texas because, first of all, they're the world champs. They've got some momentum there. They have started to figure out how to win. Their lineup is obviously insane. And, if their pitching rotation gets healthy, if the old men come back and contribute, I think they just have to kind of hang around and hope that guys like DeGrom, I know that's August, and guys like Scherzer come back and can, pitch even remotely like they're supposed to. And I think, was it Male? How do you pronounce it? Male. When he comes back, they have a great rotation. Right now, they just got to hang in there and bide their time.
All right.
By the time the old men are healthy in Texas, clearly they'll be 15 games out of the division-leading Seattle Mariners. What about you, Erik? What's your thoughts?
Okay, so 3 different opinions, 3 different teams. Will it be 4 different teams? No, I'm going to go with David. Texas as well. They got what it takes. Okay. They're strong enough to repeat. And
not going with Oakland.
Maybe for the dark horse for the AL, which is our next segment, Jonny, isn't it? Who is your dark horse?
Okay, yes, we're moving on to the NL. Well, this one's a
foregone
conclusion.
Dark horse.
AL, dark horse. You want to do a dark horse first? Okay. Yes. Okay.
AL
JC, you go first.
Yeah, I already gave mine. It's the Tigers. I think to win the division, the fact that's just well above what anyone would think they do.
David,
dark horse is always the Rays. Always the Rays, the dark horse.
Do you know what? I'm going to go in the American League East as well, Dave, but not with the Rays. I'm going to go dark horse Blue Jays. Because we've been talking about the Blue Jays for ages, and I just sort of feel that if it just clicks into place, when you look at their lineup, there's, they could do something special. I didn't predict them to win the East because they're so unreliable, but I think they are a genuine dark horse.
Can I just go add one more since I already had done Tigers, which I want to go with the Red Sox. I know they're my team, but I actually think they're a lot better than people think they're going to be. You have Devers. Trevor Story is back. I think that if he's healthy, that he adds a lot to the offense. And Brian Bello, each year, and Tanner Houck, they've got pitching that can improve. And they, I don't think they're going to win the division, but could they get in the wild card? I think so.
Okay. How about the Reds for a dark horse? Not the Red Sox, the Reds.
Well, wait till we get NL.
Yeah.
Okay, so my dark horse is Detroit Tigers. With Josh has more faith in my Tigers than I do. I say that yes, they will be vastly improved this season, but just maybe get a wild card and then maybe get knocked out after the wild card. That's my dark horse, the Detroit Tigers. Moving on to the National League, Jonny.
Okay, well, guys, this isn't going to take any time at all. Let's all just tick the box. Atlanta Braves, National League East champions, World Series contenders.
Yeah, I'll buy on that one.
Anybody want to offer anything different?
It's annoying as hell, but what are you going to do?
The Phillies have a chance to compete. They got a great 1-2 punch in their pitching.
Not really.
I just making the argument, right? They still do have some offensive threats.
But
they have a ton of. Look, they have a lot of talent in Philadelphia, but Atlanta. Even Kelenic is hitting. Even Kelenic is hitting now.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm just trying to make the argument.
No, and I think the nightmare scenario is for Braves fans, if the Phillies do their usual, they stink up the regular season, they're unbeatable, and they have the Braves number. And I don't know what it is about that. And of course, the Braves are always, because they're top of the pile, they get that bye week, and it proves to be a disaster. We go completely cold, and then we get our asses handed to us. Anyway,
for what it's worth,
we're talking regular season.
NLEs. Yes, I grudgingly choose the Braves as well. Moving on.
Just don't grudgingly. They're a great team and they're fun to watch. Okay, come
on. Oh, so fun.
Okay.
Great, a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Okay, National League Central. Now, this is an interesting one. Again, I don't think it's the strongest of divisions. I'm going to go with one of my all-time favorite stadiums because I've got a soft spot for them. I'm going with the Pirates.
I do love that stadium. I don't see the Pirates doing it. Dave sort of foreshadowed my choice. I like the Reds, actually. I think that the Reds' young offensive nucleus is pretty damn fantastic. Matt McClain getting injured is a big hit for them, but I think that they have enough depth there in a division that's very questionable, along with the Cubs, of course, who actually have some pitching and a reasonable offense.
Dave?
There's something about the Reds that, when the Reds are good, it seems to be good for baseball. I don't know why it is, but there's something there's a little bit of magic in that franchise that I think baseball enjoys watching perform well. Having said all that, they're not going to win. I mean, the Cubs are going to win.
They're the oldest professional team. That's why.
That's right.
Yeah.
and we all have those fond memories of, like, you know, the Big Red Machine, you know, how incredible it was for a small franchise city like the Reds to just kind of dominate the sport for a short period.
And for my pick for the NL Central, and only because thanks to Wayne's World, I can never pronounce it any other way, I'm going to go for Milwaukee, the Brewers.
The Brewers?
Yeah,
yes.
That's a good pick.
So there you go. Yeah. Over to the NL West, Johnny.
Well, I so don't want to go with the Dodgers because they got all the money, and Todd Bowley's ruining football for all Chelsea fans with what he's doing over here. So just out of as an argument, as a sort of a protest vote, I'm refusing to back the Dodgers, who are clearly the team to beat. So I'm going to go with, and again, a team I've got a big soft spot for because I love the stadium, or at least I don't love the stadium. I love the experiences I had there. I'm going with Arizona. I'm going with the D-backs. I want to see the D-backs win.
Yeah, it's the Dodgers. I mean, this one's feels as certain as the Braves in the East. Okay. But that said, it's a deeper division, right? I mean, you mentioned the D-backs. My dark horse is actually the Giants, which is, you know, actually really Logan Webb. They went and got Matt Chapman. I mean, they have
Kyle Harrison, and they've just brought up, I think, is
save the dark horse. The dark horse segment.
Yeah.
Well, it just made sense to you know, editorially, Erik. To give it away there.
So you're going with the Dodgers, but you're making the Giants your dark horse. You're just basically giving us two decisions before we actually asked you for the decision.
Well, we're trying to move things along, you know.
Yes, which is unsuccessfully, my ad.
I was just thinking you picked the Diamondbacks, but I'm thinking, you know, imagine upsetting the Phillies and getting to the World Series and causing mayhem on MLB brackets and having absolutely no chance whatsoever to win the division the following year. That's the situation the Diamondbacks are in. And obviously the Dodgers are going to win this thing. The question is, you know, by how much and how sharp they can stay over the course of a season, you know, when they have potentially a double-digit lead in the West, and to stay sharp for the playoffs and not fall short again.
Well, I predict that
decision, Erik.
I will predict that there will be a Dodgers capitulation. There'll be some sort of implosion, and they will not win the division due to just them being like
Ohtani being suspended.
But the possibilities are endless. Distractions. There'll be like a case of like, see, money can't buy success, and they'll be pipped at the post by the Padres in the NL West. There, that's my pick. I said it. You heard it here first. Padres after the implosion of the Dodgers.
Okay, well, we're going
for the dark horse now.
Are you eating? What are you eating?
I'm eating. Sorry, guys. This podcast has gone on so long. I just had to have a munchie. I got a munchie moment. I apologize.
Okay, so
are you going to tell us what you're eating?
Or don't tell us what you're eating. Just tell us what your NL dark horse is.
Okay, well, JC's gone with the Giants in the National League West, and I am going to share his view. I'm a big Giants fan, and I think they're much better than they were last season. They couldn't have been much worse, and I definitely agree with you. I think their pitching is really good, and it's a pitching park. So that pitching wins ball games. That's what JC told me all those years ago. So I'm going with the Giants. That's my dark horse.
David?
I do think the Reds have a great opportunity. Also, I think the Pirates have a chance to play a lot better and to potentially, you know, in these times where you don't have to win 90 games to get in the playoffs. Go with Pirates for the first time in a long time. That organization is on the up.
Okay, and now you're gonna laugh at my dark horse, because should they be a dark horse? I think they are a dark horse because they were terrible last year, and it's the New York Mets. just like the Tigers, they're
a dead horse.
They will just maybe clip into the wild card and then lose the wild card. Won't go all the way, but we'll make the wild card. That's my dark horse. Your New York Mets, and that's the end of our predictions.
We are so revisiting that decision, Erik. We are revisiting that decision in 6 months' time.
Exactly. Moving on.
Love it. Okay, let's move it on. We're into. We're not going to bother with 3 batters. It's 2 batters and you're out. We're going to move straight into The 7th inning stretch, boys. Let's give it a stretch.
Show the sweaty armpits.
This is your moment to shine, Erik. Important that we give you your moment in the sun.
Basically, I'm not going to. This is just our preview show kind of thing. It's just a quick show. For those who are new, 7th inning, we're going to sort of introduce pop culture, music, film, TV that crosses over into baseball and vice versa. What we're going to do here is Johnny's favorite segment is music, right? Now, I usually pick an obscure or not obscure baseball track, music track that is. I just want to say happy birthday to AKA Betty Boney, who's now called Judy Johnson. She just celebrated her 100th birthday the other day. And
who is that?
Who is that? Why are we mentioning it?
She sang this song.
Started baseball's famous streak that's got us all aglow. He's just a man and not a freak. Joltin' Joe DiMaggio.
Joe DiMaggio, we want you and I.
He tied the mark at 44, July the 1st, you know. Since then he's hit a good 12 more. Joltin' Joe DiMaggio.
Joe DiMaggio, we want you and I.
From coast to coast, that's all you'll hear of Joe, the one-man show. He's glorified the horse-hide sphere. Joltin' Joe DiMaggio.
Joe DiMaggio, we want you and I.
He'll live in baseball's Hall of Fame. He got there blow by blow. Our kids will tell their kids his name. Joltin' Joe DiMaggio.
We dream of Joey with the line from back. Joe DiMaggio.
We want you on our side.
Yeah. Now I remember. Fantastic. Love it. Classic track. Classic lady.
Judy Johnson, happy 100th birthday. Many more to come.
You're
now,
obsessed with Judy. You know how long you've been talking about this woman?
I've been trying to track her down with the help of Dave. Hopefully we get an interview with her. She's still alive. She sang that song when she was 14 years old, would you believe? Amazing.
Wow.
Now, Johnny's most hated music track that I've played in the past is this song.
My heart knew such humiliation that I sat and planned retaliation, using the wiles known to all women. I'd marry that man if it was human. The wedding bells rang, we were one in June. Triumphantly we went on a honeymoon. He held me very tight under stars so bright and whispered, darling, who do you love tonight? I told him, baseball, baseball, the Tigers and baseball, baseball, Ted Williams and baseball, baseball. I love the game baseball, Yankees, Redlegs, Braves, White Sox, Indians, Phillies, Senators, Red Sox, Orioles, Athletics, Pirates, baseball, baseball, baseball.
Oh my God, I hate that song. Why did we have to play that?
Now, I'll tell you why we have to play that.
Bother you?
Because it is Jane Morgan who sang that song. Baseball,
She's
baseball.
a nice lady. It's nothing
Nice lady.
against Jane. It's just the song stings.
She is 99 years old and she turns 100 next month. So how's that? Both of these songsters
Bookends
are alive still to this day. So what better way than to honor them both on opening day? As we're both, one's at 100, one's turning 100. So there you go.
Is there a moral to this story, Erik?
No, I just wanted to say happy birthday.
Eric's obsessed with 100-year-old ladies.
Yeah,
sing a baseball song, live forever.
Exactly. Sing a really bad baseball
and we shall honor you forever.
I mean, if
exactly.
You can
Here at the Johnny
so everybody
Josh
in S Club 7 is going to live forever, clearly.
Oh God, yeah. So there you go. So later on, and as the season continues, I shall bring you back some more classic music tracks from baseball from yesteryear.
Is that the end of our cultural reference, Erik?
Well, I guess I'll do one thing we also do is a baseball book of the week, or book of the month, or book of the year, because it's been so long. One book that I'm actually currently reading, I'm not finished reading yet, is none other than Wingmen by Adam Lazarus, and it's a book about Ted Williams,
Wingmen,
and John Glenn. They actually were fighter pilots together.
Same squadron.
Same squadron. They were each
Wow.
other's wingmen. John Glenn and Ted Williams. So imagine. So it takes all my nerdy bucket list things: astronauts, fighter pilots.
Yeah, 100-year-old ladies and astronauts. That is Erik's wheelhouse. No
And
question about it.
Because Erik's living in 1953. I don't know if you knew this, but
Exactly. I think it's groovy. Okay, so that's my book recommendation. Even though I haven't finished reading it yet, it's I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Wingmen by Adam Lazarus. A story about John Glenn and Ted Williams being fighter pilots together, and you hear baseball stories and all that kind of stuff in there as well.
I think people are just amazed that you can actually read, Erik. I think that's the revelation here. Okay, so move it on. What's next?
Well, as scripted, you can read what's next because we have a new segment.
Okay. Well, I thought you'd like to introduce it, but I'll do it because this is your segment. This is when you're shining, but I'll do it if you don't feel up to it.
Now I hand the torch of this segment over to our esteemed colleague, Josh Chowan.
Okay, well then I'll just introduce myself.
Thanks, Jonny. Yeah.
So it's called. Well, let me give you a little background.
I got it here. Okay, so
okay.
I'll even do a theme song for you. Hey, it's Josh's House of Cards. Yeah, and he's bringing you cards with his regards. I broke a glass and it fell into shards. It's Josh's House of Cards. Yeah, there you go. As the season continues, we'll get guest musicians to sing the theme song. All right.
So when I was a kid, like many other people,
if your singing's anything, sorry,
okay, let's just apologize. I was about to say, if Erik's Josh's House of Cards. Josh has a floor. Please continue, Josh.
So as when I was a kid, like many other young folks who loved baseball, I collected baseball cards. During the COVID era, I actually sold my whole collection. I had quite a number of cards from the 1950s to present. A little while later, I decided I wanted to start collecting cards from the pre-war era. So much older cards, sort of an interesting era of baseball. And what I wanted to do was to take a card that I purchased from that era, sort of highlight that set, and then also tell a story of an interesting player from that era. So the card I am starting with is the 1914-1950 Cracker Jack set. I'll give a little bit about that set. It's one of my favorite sets. Here is the card. You can see it right there. A very cool card, really vibrant red backgrounds. If you like the dead ball era of baseball, this is the best set for you. Honus Wagner, Ty Cobb, Rube Marquardt, Christy Mathewson, Fred Clark. Hal Chase. The Prince is in there as well, too. Yes, all those great players. One of the great sets, and the player who I'm going to talk about from this set is this guy. His name is Ray Caldwell, and he is the source of two of my favorite baseball stories ever. But before I talk about that, just want to mention that this was a guy who could have been one of the greatest players of all time. Fact is that he started with the New York team in 1910. He was so good that Ring Lardner, one of the greatest baseball writers of all time, likened him to Christy Mathewson and Walter Johnson. He was that good. In fact, at one point, he was with they were the Highlanders and then the Yankees. He was actually going to be traded to the Washington Senators for Walter Johnson, 1-for-1. That's how good he was in those years. But Ban Johnson, who was the president of the AL, he actually told the Yankees or the Highlanders not to trade Caldwell because he thought that Caldwell was better than Johnson. Unfortunately, the reason that he did not have the success that Walter Johnson or Christy Matthews had is that the dude liked to hit the bottle a little too hard. In fact, he was traded from the Yankees to the Red Sox because the Yankees were just tired of him going on benders. My favorite term for what they would call it in the euphemism in the press at the time was he did a lot of Broadway training. That's what they called it. When you went and drank too much, you were doing Broadway training. So he gets traded to the Red Sox, and his roommate is Babe Ruth. He was so bad for Babe Ruth that the Red Sox released him. He was that big a drinker. So now we get to my two favorite stories. It looks like his career is over. He's about to basically go down to the minors, just try and kick around, try and make a little money. When Tris Speaker, Hall of Famer, but now the manager of the Cleveland team, decides to pick him up. First story that is so great is that in his contract, Tris Speaker literally put in that after every start, he needed to get not Tris Speaker, but Ray Caldwell needed to get incredibly drunk. Caldwell looks at the contrary, says, "You mean not get drunk?" Tris Speaker says, "Nope, get drunk. I want you to get drunk after every start, then spend 3 days drying out before your next start." Totally worked. He went 5-1 that season with a 1.7 ERA because he was so good at getting drunk and sobering up. The next year, 1920, actually, they won the World Series and he was their ace pitcher using this contract stipulation of getting drunk. But he is actually the holder of the greatest individual performance on a baseball field in Major League history. And I kid you not, this is the greatest. In his first start in that season in 1990 for the Cleveland Indians, he was pitching against the Philadelphia Athletics, holding on to a 2-1 lead through 8 2/3 innings. The clouds started to get really rumbly. He actually got hit by lightning. So a lightning strike hit him, knocked him unconscious. 8 2/3 innings, up 2-1. For 6 minutes, he was completely passed out. People didn't know if he was dead or alive. He wakes up. Speaker says, "You're done, Ray." Ray says, "No way." Gets back on the hill, gets the last batter out to throw the complete game to win 2-1.
Oh,
Wow.
that's awesome. Wow.
I never heard that.
I love that.
And that is the story of our 1915 Cracker Jack star, Ray Caldwell.
I'm
And
loving this.
from upstate New York product.
It's a little known fact, guys, that my contract with Channel 5 Baseball was that I had to stink it up every show. I had to be awful every single show. And, you know, I feel like I lived
you
up
had
to that.
fart during the show.
What?
Well, I mean, you stink it up. You fart. Yeah.
On that note,
thank you.
we're looking forward to the next one with Josh.
That was great. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that brand new segment. That is phenomenal.
All
Okay,
right.
let's move it on. We've got to pump it up, guys. Big social handle, mention, bottom of the screen, put a thumbs up, put a like.
Also,
you
can click like, but you also like trivia answers too, don't you?
Yeah, do you want to do the trivia
yeah.
as well?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay. So I
we all
asked you
assumed we knew
guys
the answer.
earlier. I asked you which team has the best winning percentage of winning their opening day games. Was it A, the Braves, B, the Red Sox, C, the Mets, or D, the Tigers? Johnny Gould, you go first.
Tigers, abundantly clear. I have no knowledge of this. I have no
David,
clue.
David, you go next.
Every Mets fan knows that this is all we have. We own this thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
Josh.
I'm not a Mets fan, but I know that to be fact too.
Even though we lost opening day, 3-1.
That's right. Even with the Mets loss this year's opening day, they still have the best winning percentage with .651, 41 and 22 record. Not most wins, but best
And they
20%.
lost their first 8. Did you know that? They lost their first 8 opening days. So if you look at
There you go.
since then,
And
it's even better.
Expos. There you go.
Right.
Now that's your trivia. More trivia to come as the season continues.
Okay, not as good as Josh's House of Cards, but half decent. Well done, Eric. Right, let's pump this up. Let's remind everybody that this is the Johnny and Josh and Dave and Erik show, renamed this year. We'd love to hear from you. You got our Twitter handle. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're all over. We're social media giants, and we've got at least 14 followers. If you do also want to check out the Nat Coombs show at the NC show, Nat is, of course, part of our stable. Well, actually, in fairness, we're part of his stable. We're his bitches. So obviously check that out as well. Hit the likes. Do whatever it takes. That's the one. Point at the bottom of the screen.
I love being Nat Coombs' bitch.
Okay, so
we're winding this up. Guys, what have you got to look forward to between now and the next time we appear? We're not going to say when we're back because, as we know, it's an
it could be next week. It could be in 2 weeks. We'll keep looking at our social handles and find out more.
Absolutely. JC, what have you got to look forward to? Any more curling?
Yeah, I've got I'm playing in 2 different U.S. national championships over the next 2 weeks. The U.S. Club Championships in Fargo, North Dakota, and the U.S. Mixed National Championships. Won 2 regional championships with 2 different teams. So a chance to maybe go to World Championships or play Canada on CBS Sports for one of them. So.
Fantastic, mate. I'm loving it. Still an elite sportsman, still having a midlife crisis. It's a beautiful thing. Big Dave, what sporting greatness are you looking to achieve in the next couple of weeks?
I'm trying to touch my toes twice this week at least. I have Pilates classes on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So we're going to see if we can do it.
But joking aside, you're looking very healthy. I don't know if
Yeah.
anybody's mentioned it. You've definitely lost some weight, big man.
Oh, you think so?
Definitely. You're looking
Yeah.
very slim in the
Yeah.
face.
Well, I was doing the 24 intermittent fasting for I did that for like 4 months. And then at night I started binge eating. So that didn't work. I was shoving anything I could find into my mouth. So when I stopped that, just by default, by not eating everything I can after 7 p.m., I lost weight. So thank you. It's very nice of you to say.
Looking good, looking good. Erik, what about you, my friend? You're off and about with some more filming with the Edge and
with the Edge camps of Major League Baseball. I'll be going to Slovakia and Germany, and then after that, I'll be doing the World Ice Hockey Championships in the beautiful city of Prague in the month of May.
Goldie, he still hasn't found what he's looking for. So
I see what you did there.
I love that. But it's a beautiful day. That's all that matters.
The streets have no name. Yeah,
guys, I absolutely love getting together with you. I'll be thinking of you in Hong Kong while I'm watching the Rugby Sevens. Nobody, of course, mentioned the fact that I raised 8 million quid in Dubai only 2 days ago, but that's fine. Let's not go there.
30
it's
seconds.
been lovely to have your company. To my baseball brothers, to all our listeners, to each and every one of you, thank you for joining us. We will be back, I promise, for the Jonny and Josh, Dave and Big Erik. Was it Big Dave and Erik? I'm not sure. It's lovely to have your company. And until next time, keep watching the baseball. Wishing you a grand slam of a life. Thank you for listening. From us all, goodbye.